The night air in Enfield was thick with an unnatural stillness. The Hodgson house, a modest council home on Green Street, stood like a silent tomb in the moonlight. But inside it was anything but quiet. A creaking sound slithered through the old wooden floors. Peggy Hodgson clutched her robe tighter, her breath shallow. The disturbances had begun weeks ago, knocking sounds, objects moving on their own, but tonight felt different. Tonight, something was watching. A loud bang. The dresser in Janet and Margaret's room slammed against the wall. Both girls screamed, their voices piercing the night. Footsteps, heavy, deliberate, thudded down the hallway. Peggy burst into the room just in time to see Janet, her 11-year-old daughter, levitate inches above the bed. The air was suffocating, charged with static energy. "Put her down!" Peggy shrieked. A deep, guttural laugh echoed through the room. The voice did not belong to Janet. "This is my house," it growled, the words rumbling like distant thunder. Suddenly the window flung open, curtains whipping violently, papers scattered. A picture frame crashed to the floor. The temperature plummeted. Janet's body tilted unnaturally before dropping onto the mattress with a thud. Downstairs, the front door rattled violently. Slam, slam, slam! The entire house quivered under an unseen force. The air smelled of sulfur. Ed and Lorraine Warren arrived the next evening, their presence only agitating the entity further. Lorraine, a clairvoyant, stepped inside and gasped. "It's not just a spirit, it's something far worse." A guttural whisper slithered through the walls, rasping cold. "Get out!" As Ed set up his recording equipment, the entity erupted. The chandelier swung violently. Dishes shattered in the kitchen, and the sound of dragging chains reverberated from the basement. Janet's body stiffened, her lips moving, yet the voice that came out was ancient and malevolent. "I lived here before you. I died here, and so will you." Ed raised his cross. "In the name of God, leave this child alone." The house quaked. The walls groaned like a living beast. A shadow, impossibly tall, rose from the corner, its hollow eyes sinking into the darkness. The entity lunged. A blinding flash. The lights exploded, plunging the house into blackness. Silence, then the soft, rhythmic creak of footsteps, growing closer. And then Janet screamed. The sound ripped through the house, echoing in every room. Lorraine grabbed Ed's arm, whispering, "It's trying to break her." The air crackled with unseen energy. The walls trembled as invisible claws scratched deep into the wallpaper, carving symbols of the damned. From the living room came the sound of glass shattering. A sudden guttural voice growled, "You cannot save her." The temperature in the house plummeted again, icy breath curling from their lips. Peggy sobbed, backing into a corner as shadows moved unnaturally along the walls. The sound of slow, deliberate breathing filled the room, a presence unseen yet omnipresent. The Warrens tried a séance. A single candle flickered in the dimly lit room, casting eerie shadows. Ed spoke in Latin, his voice steady, but the entity only laughed, a deep, mocking, inhuman cackle. Suddenly Janet's body convulsed. Her eyes rolled back, and her mouth opened wide as if something was crawling up from within. Then she whispered, "He's coming." A monstrous crash. The table flipped violently, slamming against the wall. The house roared with noise, pounding, knocking, wailing. The walls buckled, the ceiling lights swung madly. A dark figure took shape in the corner, a mass of writhing shadows. "Leave now!" it bellowed, shaking the house to its foundation. Peggy clutched her daughters, sobbing, but there was nowhere to go. The Warrens held firm. Lorraine, her hands trembling, held out a crucifix. "You are not welcome here!" The entity shrieked, a horrific sound like nails on a chalkboard mixed with tortured wails. A sudden gust of wind howled through the house. The doors burst open. A final boom, then silence. The presence lifted, the air no longer thick with dread. Janet collapsed unconscious. The Hodgsons were free for now. A week passed in uneasy peace, but then the knocking returned. It started softly, almost playful. Tap, tap, tap. Then, in the dead of night, Janet sat bolt upright in bed, her breath visible in the freezing air. From the corner of the room, a whisper, "Did you think you were safe?" The Warrens were called back in desperation. Lorraine sensed it immediately. The entity was not weakened. It was waiting. The furniture rattled, the air thickened. Then a low voice rumbled from the walls. "I was never gone." Janet screamed as an unseen force dragged her from her bed. The exorcism began. Ed recited prayers, but the house rebelled. The walls trembled, claw marks appearing in the wood. A guttural growl shook the room. Janet's body convulsed, her eyes rolling back. She levitated once more, her limbs contorting unnaturally. Chapter 14. You cannot cast me out. The entity roared through Janet. The windows shattered, shards of glass swirling in the air. Lorraine pressed a crucifix to Janet's forehead. A hideous screech erupted, the room pulsing with dark energy. A shadow peeled itself from the wall, its form twisting and writhing. It lunged for Lorraine, but she stood firm. "In the name of Christ, begone." Light exploded from the crucifix, the entity shrieking in agony. The house shook violently. With a final, ear-splitting scream, the shadow dissipated, sucked into the floor like smoke. Janet collapsed, gasping. The air lightened. The presence was gone. The house was still, unnervingly so. The Hodgsons wept with relief. Ed and Lorraine, exhausted, reassured them. "It's over," Ed said, though his voice held doubt. The family tried to move on. But on the last night before they left the house for good, Peggy heard it one final time. A whisper from the empty room. "I will always be here." She turned, but nothing was there. Only the wind, or so she told herself. The family moved out, the house left empty. Yet neighbors still reported strange noises, flickering lights, and distant voices in the night. To this day, the Enfield house remains a legend, a warning that some spirits never rest. And on quiet nights when the wind is still, some say you can hear it. Tap, tap, tap.